with natural microorganisms that play a key role in maintaining soil fertility. So there's a lot of unknowns with these insecticide-containing plants.
A more immediate concern to consumers is just what effect eating corn with a built-in pesticide will have on people.
The problem is nobody knows. There is no human safety testing that has ever been done on BT corn or any other GE food, so we, the consumers, are being used as guinea pigs in this biotech nutritional experiment.
Perhaps the greatest claim of the biotech food corporations to date is that the new genetic technologies will end world hunger. By creating superfoods like golden rice, which is a rice enhanced with vitamin A for added nutrition, they claim the GM food creations will wipe out hunger. Other genetically engineered crops known as functional foods will be engineered with built-in vaccines, vitamins, and other supplements for human health and nutrition.
They will be, enhancements in human nutrition, animal nutrition. They will be, new and different approaches for disease, of course. But stress tolerance, building plants that can grow in high salt areas or that can grow in cold areas or in, very wet areas, all kinds of stresses. Plants that have higher yields, plants that utilize less fertilizer. A lot of this is aimed toward making the same amount of food while impacting the environment no more than we do now, or hopefully less.
Farmers are told less chemicals. It caught their eye because we realized that we were just using too much chemicals over the last 50 years. Our water is contaminated, our ground is contaminated with tons and tons of chemicals. And we saw what it was doing to our deer. We saw dead deer, dead rabbits, dead geese in our fields. And we knew, because farmers, we worked so close with nature, and we knew the damage we were doing to the environment.
The most widely used transgenic application is for herbicide tolerance. 75% of genetically modified crops in the year 2000 were engineered to be herbicide resistant. Agrochemical and biotech corporations produce the DNA, the seeds, and the chemical herbicides that are developed and sold as a package. Certain transgenic varieties are designed to self-destruct if not sprayed by a complementary chemical. This is known as Terminator technology.
The other areas where I see incredible benefits in the future are using plants to make alternative sources for oil, for example, because plants are our most renewable resource. And what are we going to do when our non-renewable resources are gone? We have to have other ways. So if you can, for example, engineer plants to make industrial oils, to make gasoline substitutes, to make plastics, then it provides a renewable source of these kinds of materials. And these things have been done. They're in various levels of being developed as product.
If we consider the crop varieties that are designed to tolerate or be resistant to herbicides, what we're really seeing is the battle between different chemical companies for market share in the herbicide market. Monsanto has its Roundup-ready crops, which tolerate the herbicide Roundup, which is a proprietary product of Monsanto. Novartis has its herbicide-resistant crops, which tolerate the herbicide that Novartis produces, and so on and so forth for each chemical company that now owns seed companies. The idea then is not to reduce pesticide use, but to get one company to capture a larger market share of the pesticide that is used.
What does this all mean? It means that Monsanto would have they want complete control of the seed supply. Because with the seed supply, and you buy the seed, they can dictate how much you get, who gets it, how much you pay for it, and especially you have to use their chemical. And every year, if you want to grow it, you have to pay their technology charge of $15 an acre.
In the year 2000, 109.2 million acres of genetically engineered crops were grown worldwide. 99% of the global total was grown in only 4 countries: the United States, Argentina, Canada, and China. The United States devoted almost 75 million acres of farmland to genetically engineered crops.
We have begun a transition in our food supply from foods which are conventionally grown to foods which are genetically engineered. And genetic engineering, no matter what anyone tells you, that process is not the same as conventional growth of food. It's a man-made process, has nothing to do with the ways of nature, is very violent, and raises questions that are ethical questions, questions of health and safety.
The question then is, are these things regulated? And the answer to that is absolutely. They are the most regulated foods we've ever eaten. And it's handled in the United States by 3 different agencies. The first is the United States Department of Agriculture. The second is the Food and Drug Administration. And the third is the Environmental Protection Agency.
There are no regulations. They've admitted there are no regulations. Right now it is going to change. They say they're going to require a notification 120 days before they come on the market. But that's it. They're still requiring, all the testing is still voluntary, certainly no labeling, no environmental review. So to say that these things are regulated is a joke.
If you're going to use the plant for food or animal feed, then you come to FDA. Our mission is to look at the food and feed safety of foods that are made from the bioengineered crop.
It's also part of FDA's job to see that packaged food contains not only the amount stated on the label, but that the labeling is honest and contains other information that will help the consumer purchase wisely and well.
Although there have been moments when she has asked herself,
all these extra ingredients, chemicals I can't pronounce, coloring materials, artificial flavoring, what a complicated world we live in. And there's never enough time.
If there was ever a moment when the precautionary principle of being exceedingly careful with every step one would take in changing the food supply itself, it is in the area of genetic engineering. It certainly calls for precaution at every step, but the precaution has not been here.
There is a lot of testing done on these foods, and I think the safety of the foods has been our primary concern. And since the late 80s, early 90s, when we first started looking at this, we worked up an approach and with developers to do appropriate testing to see, is there anything different about the foods? If there is there anything that would raise a safety concern? And I think we have been, for all the crops that we have seen, very concerned to be sure that they are as safe as the traditional variety to which they're compared.
The health implications of genetically engineered foods are significant. Firstly, the possibility of toxic reactions to foods, like genetically engineered tryptophan, a health food supplement, an amino acid used for sleeping disorders. When that was genetically engineered, it turned out that the tryptophan produced by those genetically engineered bacteria was very toxic, and it claimed many lives and also incapacitated, crippled many hundreds of people. So there's a possibility of toxic reactions, of course, a high probability of allergic reactions when we're taking fish genes or dairy genes or nuts or peanuts and genetically engineering them into foods like broccoli.
The FDA does have a voluntary process by which a producer can come forward and provide information, saying this is what we've looked at. These are the tests we've run. We think, there isn't going to be a problem. And the FDA can kind of look through that and decide whether there is an issue or not.
It's very interesting to me that the FDA's own staff scientists have warned about unique health hazards of genetically engineered foods. And yet the FDA bureaucrats, who are political appointees, are ignoring the recommendations of their own scientists and are rushing these foods to market.
So we have a condition which is really adverse to the public interest, where corporations are, in effect, allowed to police their own industries, are not required to divulge all of their backup research and data to prove their products, and where the government doesn't do it either.